Wink, ka-chow.
All right.
Hello, D.
Hi,
Oh, Taylor, good of you to join us.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, what's up?
And you at home, welcome to the Talkies.
Taylor.
What's up?
It's kind of woody.
Woody. Got a woody sound to
woody.
it.
Woody, isn't it? Yes, very nice. Not like Devon.
Not like
D.
Devon.
Or
D. Tinny.
The
Tinny.
talkies.
Ugh.
Tinny.
Dreadful word.
This
Anyway,
is dumb.
what a stupid way to begin.
All right.
Long time ago,
In Galaxy Far, Far Away.
before we did the Talkies, the three of us came together to make movies and such. And on a trip to Los Angeles, we decided to go see a movie together. It was the first time that the three of us had seen a film together at the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Darren Aronofsky's Mother.
Yep.
Which I'd never heard of.
And since then, we have never stopped talking about this movie.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's come up in, I don't know, half of our Talkies episodes.
Yeah,
Something brings up Mother all the time.
Yeah.
And so we thought, we need to cover Mother on the Talkies.
Let's get it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
People were, deeply disturbed by this movie.
Yeah.
Some people really, really hate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mother so much.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, completely. I think this is a great movie. We all just rewatched it for our second time in preparation for this episode. And we all came to the conclusion that it was even better the second time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes, it
better
was.
movie even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
I think it was hard to enjoy it as much as you should have the first time because you're so busy having your brain explode.
Yeah, seriously.
That is the
That
thing,
the
yeah.
second time it's like you already know that stuff is coming and you actually can pay attention to how amazingly well crafted and beautiful this film is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the just laser focused intention that is in every single decision made here.
Yeah. That's what makes it for me.
Yeah.
Is that laser focused intent. There's a podcast I listen to from Wisecrack called Show Me the Meaning. And in there they talk about Darren Aronofsky, but it's about the Mother. But they talk mostly about Darren Aronofsky, about how he's just a prick beyond artist of a prick. And they really hate on Mother. Just lay it down. And I found myself disagreeing with every single point that they brought up. They're mostly philosophical type of people that talk about philosophical stuff, and said that the analogy really didn't work here. I thought it was interesting because when we went to go see Mother for the first time, we didn't even see an analogy there present at all.
No. Well, I kind of felt like it was more about the way humans treat Earth. I thought it was more of an environmental message, if there was a message there.
Yeah, and then
I did not catch on to any of the biblical symbology until way later.
And I read more of it as a relationship story, things, intrusion taken to the max, and love of what love really means.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked looking at it as literal. Just straight up literal. No bells and whistles about it. It's just about
This is a thing that actually happened in someone's house.
Yeah, and someone is getting really,
That's
distraught over being, beat to death, having their baby killed, and
That's
all
really
these
funny.
insane stuff. Yeah. But the allegory, I think a lot of people were saying the allegory is a little either kind of obvious or not exactly lining up with every single point of the is it Cain and Abel story?
Really,
Well, I think
just
it's
sort of
just
the Bible
mostly
in
it's just
general.
all
The whole
sort of-
Bible, yeah.
Really, it's mostly just Genesis.
Yeah.
It's Genesis.
But on second watch, it totally works for me, even as an allegory.
Yeah, me too.
And it's not like every single thing lines up absolutely perfectly. He takes his liberties with it, and it's more like he's just taking inspiration from these parts and manipulating them in a way that fits what he's trying to express.
Yeah, it's like an artistic reflection
Yeah.
inspired by stories in the Bible.
Yeah.
There's some real clear comparisons you can make to the Cain slaying Abel, the stain of Cain introducing murder into the world, being unable to wash away even after the great flood.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
that happens, right?
Right.
We
That,
get all
yeah.
that pretty visually. You have Adam and Eve coming into the world. But where he has fun with it is like there's parts in the Old Testament, in fact, most of the Old Testament, God comes across as a bit of a narcissist, as someone who just wants to be worshipped and wants attention and demands that you sacrifice to him and worship him. Most Christians find ways to sort of like explain their way out of that, you know, like, oh, that's
it
not
doesn't
really
really
the
mean
case.
that.
God is love, you
Right,
know,
right.
even though he doesn't look like he's love in the Old Testament, he's love, right?
Right.
And so Aronofsky just ran with that, you know, with Javier Bardem's character being the God figure, the
Yeah.
creator, who really is just a narcissist. He never respects Mother
Right.
once.
Well, and he gives like
He gives lip service to
right.
her.
Yeah.
He gives lip service. Right.
Yeah, but it's never true respect.
Yeah, you can just
Never once does what she says.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
you can tell how hollow it is too. Like when he like does give compliments to her and is trying to be like a nice husband.
Like reassuring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You just see right through it, and you know that he's not. He's just saying that just
to
to
calm her down.
appease her. You know?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
even at the very beginning of the movie, when everything's supposed to be like living in paradise, you know,
Yeah.
everything was as it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
he never agrees with her or does what she says.
Yeah.
It's very casual at the beginning, but like he comes into the kitchen
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "I can get those for you," and she goes, "No, don't. I got it." And he just kind of goes, he just gets it. And goes, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and that disrespect just grows and grows and gets amplified.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
and
movie.
that's definitely something that I noticed the second time around, because the first time we watched this, it felt extremely sudden and like a 180 when things kind of hit like 11, when things got turned up to 11. But watching it again, it's very deliberate and clear pacing and not even necessarily exponential, but it makes sense that it gets to the extremes that it does in
Right.
the pacing it gives. It's all there in the beginning.
It totally
just
is.
starts very minuscule and
Right.
very, very subtle and grows into this insanely extreme, like as extreme as possible version of that idea.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about this film is that it really makes you feel what Jennifer Lawrence's character feels
That-
like. It really puts you in her place.
Yeah.
Dee, after the first time we watched it and the second time, you said, "I feel sick,"
I did. Yeah.
and it's because
Absolutely.
they violate you
Yeah.
Yeah.
as they violate Mother in the film. And one of the ways in which they pull that off is the way they chose to shoot the film.
Yeah.
So every single shot is either a close-up on her, over her shoulder, or what she's looking at from her point of view.
Exactly.
And we stay all wrapped up in her character the whole time. And so all these invasions into her privacy, into her space, come literally right into our lap.
Yes.
We feel it with her.
Yes.
It makes the movie very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, every time that I thought about this movie after watching it, I had thought about, was that movie all in one shot? And no, it's not. But it makes you feel that way.
Yeah.
And I love this so much. Is that it's funny because I howl about like story, right? Things must have sense, make sense, and make a story. And it's so cool because this it has kind of a story, but I love it so much because it has a voice, right? Everything that happens in here is giving empathy with Jennifer Lawrence's character, and everything is targeted toward her vulnerability.
Right.
And like that is just amazing to me to have that kind of targeted, like laser focused empathy in your movie throughout the entire thing too.
Yeah.
But we've said it before that you can get a pass on how strong your narrative is if you give us more
Yeah.
of the character development.
Right.
So the more character empathy we can build, the less you have to rely on the traditional storytelling arc.
Right. As long as you have a point for telling what you're telling.
Yeah.
That's it. You know.
And I don't know that we could have gotten more intimate.
Right. No, you couldn't.
With Jennifer Lawrence's
Yeah.
character.
That's what's so nice
You
about
feel
it.
completely invested, no matter where that story goes.
Yeah.
And I think you can only pull that off when you get that close to a character.
Yeah, the other characters in here don't even feel like other characters to me. They just feel like they're intruding, like they're extras almost.
Even her husband.
Her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all
But
directing.
that's the point, right? Like everyone's an intruder on Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And everyone comes to just take and take and take until there's nothing left.
And I love that so much, the way that was translated.
Yeah, it's such a frustrating movie, but it's meant to be frustrating because you get so connected with Jennifer Lawrence, and she's obviously very frustrated, and you can feel that.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating to get these side characters who are intruding into her personal space that the whole house that she built herself, recreated herself to be alone with her husband and raise a child intimately and isolated, and being intruded upon that, and then having all these people be disrespectful, destroy your house, and then treat you like you're the one who's doing something wrong, like you're the dick in this situation.
Yeah.
And just no one listens to her ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like at the very
thing.
beginning, when Ed Harris's character comes in, and she's like, "We don't smoke," and he's like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah.
He's like, "That's good you don't smoke."
Right.
He's like, in the house. And
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh," he throws a cigarette out and he goes.
And then he smokes anyway.
And then
later
that
on.
night, when she wakes up in the morning, there's an ashtray full of cigarettes.
I like that part too when she comes in with them to sit down for tea. Or no. She asks, I can't remember how she gets in tea.
She asks him if they want tea.
Right.
Basically has to talk them into it.
Right.
Because he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be any trouble." And then finally he agrees, "Okay, yeah, you can make us some tea. Thank you so much."
Right.
She goes off, she makes the tea. When she gets back, they're drinking whiskey
already.
or something.
Yeah. And so they're already drinking.
And
she
they don't
sits
even
down.
want the tea.
Yeah. And then Javier Bardem's character, so Ed Harris offers Jennifer Lawrence some alcohol, and Javier Bardem steps in and says, "No, she doesn't drink."
Yeah.
And she goes, "I drink." And he's like, Ed Harris just says, "And you want some?" And she's like, No. It's
And
fine."
then they laugh at her.
Right.
Yeah.
And this whole movie is like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single thing.
Yeah.
I love that when the part that you bring up a lot, where there's a couple in her room that are like about to have sex
On her bed.
on her bed, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Crazy."
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's like, "You have to get out of here." And they're just like,
They're like,
"Oh,
Fine.
okay."
What's great about
Sure,
that
sure.
is the dude is like if you saw this guy, and it's like he's a nice guy.
Right.
It's like he's a nice guy who's interacting with like a rude employee.
Right.
That's like his attitude at
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
and that's all directing.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be nice to her at the very beginning, at the sort of like after funeral sort of hanging out.
Yeah.
You know, he comes up to her and he's just like gives her a hug. And he's like, "It's gonna be all right."
Yeah.
It's all
He's-
like, what?
He says, "Can I use your phone?" She says, "Yeah, it's in the kitchen." And like in the mid sentence, he goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
Right.
And then she comes down. The dude's painting
And
the
he's
ceiling.
painting the ceiling.
He's
What
like,
are
"I
you
worked
doing?"
my
He's
way
like,
through
"Oh,
college."
yeah, I worked my way through college this way. It's no trouble.
We don't mind.
I just want to help. You've been so kind. You need to stop that. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
So good.
He's
Yeah.
the nicest man,
Yeah.
but he's so frustrating.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about intention here. Now, we talk about a movie that's like thoroughly planned out.
Yeah.
They took 3 months to rehearse this movie with the cast.
Yeah. So
And he had these.
Say that again. Slower.
He took the cast, put them on payroll, and paid them to rehearse for this movie for 3 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they took a warehouse and put tape on the floor to map out the dimensions of the house's floor plan, and rehearsed out everything for more time than is typically used to shoot a whole movie. They were rehearsing. There's not a single frame in this movie that wasn't planned out months in advance. That's amazing.
That is
Yeah,
amazing.
That is really cool.
Yeah, there was a thing that I got from that when we were talking about this in the car earlier. We talked about how expressionism can still be planned out, right? Expressionism doesn't have to be you're experimenting with something, an idea flowing and something like that. It can be that you have an idea, you want to put it on paper, you want to put it on video, and so you you write it out, and then you make sure that you have all of it, perfect.
Yeah.
And that even though it is expressionist, even though it is just an experiment or whatever, everything is completely laid out and intended.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that.
That's like part of what, like experimental, like what does that actually mean? That's, you have an idea in your head, some sort of hypothesis, and then you experiment with what the outcome of that hypothesis might be. So you have to design it, you
Right.
have to plan it, you have to
Right.
plan how you're going to test this idea that you have. And I think in this case, the experiment is with frustration.
Yeah.
and like how far can you push one person, like how much can you push one person outside of their private space? How much can you intrude on their private space before they are slitting people's throats and killing themselves in the whole house?
Yeah.
Yeah, she full on murders a bunch of people there at the
She
end.
murders a kid.
And
Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first time. She
I didn't
takes a
notice that.
piece of glass and slices a kid's face off.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, she stabs a whole bunch of people.
yeah.
and when that happens, it's funny because you feel justified.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, do
it's
that,
like,
man.
yeah,
It's also
yeah.
funny is that in that moment, no one's resisting her.
Right? Yeah.
They like let her do it.
They just let her do it.
And then they all gang, beat on her.
Oh man, that's like
That's
that's
the
like
most-
the best beatdown I've
That's
ever
the most
seen.
brutal scene I've ever
Yeah.
seen.
It is, yeah.
And I don't know where her performance ends and the stunt people pick up, but I know she did a lot of the very physical parts herself because I saw the behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
She was on the floor getting
I mean, like
kicked.
Like it looks real. It looks like she's getting absolutely destroyed because it
Yeah.
doesn't cut away or anything. It just
Yeah.
shows us
It's
that
not quick
Jennifer
cuts, it's
Lawrence
one long shot.
just getting beat in the face and kicked around.
Yeah.
And like I've
It's
never
quite
seen.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, like that's so violent and it's
Yeah.
done so convincingly. It's amazing.
It
Love
is.
it.
Yeah.
Can I talk about time dilation here?
Please do.
So,
That's what I want to talk about.
So usually passage of time is compressed by using like crossfade,
Some
or
sort of
something
editing
like
trick.
this.
Yeah.
This was done by having basically a circular floor plan
Yeah.
on the house. And so just so you know, the house was entirely built from scratch for this movie. They didn't just find a cool looking house to shoot in. They built the whole thing for this movie. And it's octagonal in shape with no dead ends, with the idea that they could keep shooting in the round into these
Around
long
and around.
shots where they don't really stop.
That's really
They could
cool.
just keep running,
Yeah.
right? And so as they're going around, she's just wandering into
Into like civilization.
into
Yeah.
a further and further down a timeline. And so we're seeing things that would technically take months, to transpire,
Right.
just as she loops around each time through this house. And I
Yeah.
thought that was just really cool.
It's really cool.
Like the first time she goes around, there's people are breaking up into clans and worshiping or partying.
Yeah.
And the next time around, those clans are now fighting, and then the third time
Right.
around, it's the aftermath of a war.
Yeah.
And then there's the refugees.
Yeah.
And it's just
and they have like the set dressing is all there too.
Yeah.
So like when you're praying, they have the altar and the candles lit. You go to a refugee camp and they have the bed set up with like
Yeah.
the health supplies.
Like a chain link.
And there was
fence.
Yeah,
one
chain link fence.
One part it looked like the aftermath of like an atom bomb because like everyone's like covered with ash and stuff. It's just nuts.
What I really liked about that time dilation thing, and mixed in with the rudeness of the other people and not taking Jennifer Lawrence seriously, is that what is her name? Mother. I guess her name's
Her
just
character's name is Mother.
Mother. So it feels like, and I talked about this before. It feels like a nightmare happening, and it's because we had talked about this before about context switching all the time in your dream. So you have a dream, you're doing something, and suddenly you're doing something else, but your action still continues. Everything around you changes, and this film feels very much like that, where she is she's like going to one room to try to get like towels. Like she went to the other room to get towels to clean up the blood from one of the sons, and she comes back and like everyone's gone, and I can't remember what else is happening, but that happens several times where she goes to go fix something, comes back, and everything changes.
Yeah.
Without acknowledging anything.
Or how fast it goes from her baby being carried away
Yeah.
you hear like the neck snap.
Oh man, that's messed up.
And then when she gets there to the front, it's only been 5 seconds.
Right.
But
it's
by
already
the time she
devoured.
gets there, they're all mourning.
Yeah.
And the guy comes up and gives her the speech about, do you hear that?
About Javier's speech.
He
lives on.
isn't dead.
Right.
Yeah.
His life lives on in them. And then there's his mutilated body, and then there's the people eating. And it's like that. If that all physically played out, it could have been done in an hour.
Right.
But it was just like jump cuts without cutting.
Without cutting.
Jump cuts
Right.
in one shot,
That's so
That's
good.
really interesting.
which is a wild
Yeah.
concept. That's kind of stuff you do in a stage play.
Yeah.
Which I got that sensation over and over of like theater in the round.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
There's one way they do showing the passage of time also in a very, very simple way that is... I probably have been done before, but I just can't think off the top of my head of an example. But what happens is it's right after mother gives birth and she's holding the baby, and Javier Bardem wants to hold his baby, but she won't let him. And so they have like
It was like a stare
a
down.
stare down. Yeah, they have a stare off over like what feels like a couple days.
So 2 or 3
They
days.
show
Yeah.
the sun go up and down at least once.
And
Yeah.
they show the fruits being eaten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they do this thing where they show this passage of time by they cut in, they show like Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem, and then they cut to this wide, and each time they cut back to the wide, nothing changes except the lighting
Yeah.
setup.
The light.
Yeah, the light is totally different every time. Different colors, different atmosphere, and it feels like morning, it feels like night, it feels like
Through
midday.
that
you know?
whole sequence, which is a pretty long sequence,
Yeah.
the birth all the way up to him taking the baby, it's pretty stretched out. Now through that whole thing, there is a musical score.
Really? I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice either.
Yeah, it's hard to call it music. It's about every 5 seconds. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ching.
Oh.
1, 2, 3. Every 5 seconds. Ching.
That's
Like
interesting.
there's a little, like a chime.
Like a triangle.
That's throughout the whole movie.
It's not. I've noticed it in other
Yeah.
parts too, but that was just like the most quiet
Yeah,
spot
where you can really
But
hear
there's
it.
just like little chime that just hits, and I think I only noticed it because I used
it was
headphones.
quiet.
I used headphones when
Oh, yeah.
when I watched the movie. So again, an interesting choice, but in that scene in particular, it felt like being hypnotized.
Yeah.
And she's falling asleep, trying to stay
Interesting.
awake, and just having this super quiet, and then just ching.
And how terrifying is that to like you're holding your baby and you fall asleep for a second and then instantly it's just gone. Like that's horrifying.
And I want to say that like that part, that whole scene is where you're just like, ooh, don't fall asleep, don't fall asleep. Like just these two people just having to stare off feels way better than dinosaurs and escaping from dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. There's more tension in that
Yeah.
scene that involved two people staring at each other in a room
Than there was in
than
the
there
whole
was
movie
in
of
any
Jurassic
part of Jurassic World 2.
or any part of many action films.
yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah,
thing
no
is like
doubt.
empathy is really, really, really important. They nail it here, and I think the reason why it works so well is because the theme is all tied in. Like everything that they do is all tied into one theme of whether that be allegorical or whatever, but all of it ties into intrusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where everyone is taking something that's not theirs, and it's just that over and over and over and over.
Yep.
And I think it works that way.
Completely works, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the way it's shot, where it's like always tight, and it's always really tight on Jennifer Lawrence's face. Just seeing her face take up so much of the screen for so much of the film, and seeing her facial expressions reacting to stuff is a super effective way to get into that kind of character.
Yeah.
Just seeing facial expressions
Yeah, absolutely.
on that detail.
I have a bit of, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I have a bit of cinematography theory that I've worked on before that has to do with the human face and where the camera's located. And a lot of it has to do with proximity and like if you can see more of the person's face, then that allows for more connection. And the closer you are, then the more intimate it is. And the entire film is like right here.
Yeah.
The entire thing.
Yeah.
And you always see her whole face. It's interesting. Intimacy, yo.
Yeah.
Empathy. emotion.
Yeah, this is one of those movies that really hits me in the gut at the end. You know, like in the climax of the film with the baby getting its neck snap, that sound, and seeing that, it's just like right in my gut. You just twist my insides. I can feel it.
And you haven't had a
physically,
baby?
you know? And I haven't even had a baby, you know?
And they were able to build that empathic bridge nonetheless.
Yeah. And it's so Dee looked up the definition of visceral before we started, and this movie is the ultimate visceral experience.
Definitely. Yeah. It's funny because I noticed the empathic bridges that they were building every now and then. And one of the things, like we talked about with the tea and the alcohol and just those little things that build up. One of those things was the cake that she made. And she made a cake that she pulled out, and it was all cooling, and she went over to the table and set up this big, huge, nice candlelit dinner. And you're with her all of these little steps. And then you see when the people start intruding and everything, and they start taking stuff, the person just takes the cake, right, that you saw her, you spend time on.
Yeah.
And you're like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And they come over here and they just start cutting it up, and you're just like, God. And then it's that over and over, and it makes you go, oh God, like you wanna stop them.
Yeah.
And that's it's that set up and payoff type thing.
Yeah.
They're like, he said to share. The poet said to share.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah, I know it's your cake, but we're gonna take it. And then he like cuts into it. You know.
It's sort of a subplot, but I thought it worked really well. It seemed like the earlier people who show up are there because they're true devotees of the poet, and then they sort of devolve or evolve into this group that is like more into the image of the poet and aren't really connected to him himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then later it's people who just, aren't really sure how they got there, but they just showed up and everyone else is doing this, so we'll do it too, you know? And by the end it's like there's no more connection to the poet at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That
It's
is
like
really
a
neat.
real evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like a whole religion like evolves.
Yeah,
within the house.
like that started it all, but by the end, it was the house had been taken over by atheists.
To switch gears to the beginning of the movie, and about Javier Bardem and J Law's relationship with each
J.
other.
Laws and Javi B.
Javi B and
Javi
J
B
Law.
and J-Law. That feels weird to say.
Their relationship with each other.
He does look like her father.
He does, yeah.
You really get the sense that Jennifer Lawrence really, really loves Javier Bardem, like genuinely.
Right.
And I loved how that was portrayed, where she's helping, like when the first two guests arrive, and I think what they're credited as man and woman.
That's their names.
Ed Harris and what's her name?
And Michelle Pfeiffer. Yeah. And Michelle Pfeiffer is like walking around the house and stuff, and like she's going up to his study.
She is horrible.
Yeah. And
Gosh,
Jennifer
yeah.
Lawrence is like, no, don't go in his study. And she's trying to protect them from intruding on his privacy.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a really nice way to show like affection and love for another character
She's more defensive of his privacy
than her own. Yeah, which is
and doing
ironic
things for
in the
him
end.
that he will not do for her.
Yeah,
And and that's showing love.
yeah.
That's a lot of movies make the mistake of thinking that building love is not an emotional connection, but just something that you just watch.
Yeah, something you see, like
Yeah.
they kiss.
Like a kiss, like they kiss, right? Or they say sweet things to each other. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You can't say enough about how well cast this movie was.
Oh man.
Beyond the two stars, having Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer in those roles like sealed the deal for
Yeah,
this
pretty
movie.
Michelle
Perfect,
Pfeiffer's despicable.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, and I've seen her play sort of a villainess before in other movies. She's very good at that.
Yeah.
And that's not where her origins come from, but she's really owned that more recently, and
Yeah.
she's good.
Yeah.
She's really good.
She is really good.
When she when that makes that comment about mother's choice in underwear.
Yeah.
She's like, you have to work harder than this, huh?
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's
I was
you
like,
wanna-
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you are despicable.
Yeah,
You are a bad person.
And she's like throwing her laundry on the ground, like her
Yeah.
wet
Yeah.
laundry is being.
I'm just
thrown
trying to
on the
help.
ground. Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
taunting.
Ed Harris's character too is just sort of an innocent fool.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
you
Like
know?
I don't.
Which is how Adam is very often portrayed.
Right.
Interesting.
In biblical stories, the
Well,
first man.
that Eve is supposed to be
that
like the
Eve is the
evil,
temptress, and
yeah.
she's the one that like coaxed. He's just sort of like, oh-de-da-de-da,
Right.
just laying around with lions and tigers here in the Garden of Eden. And Eve's like, you should try this. God said not to eat it, but I think we should. And he's like, well, okay.
Humanity was doomed.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then having the Gleason boys playing brothers.
Yeah.
Freaking
Who are
great.
actually brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and dude, that they had very little screen time and just owned.
They owned
it.
it. Yeah.
Like Darmahall
Dom.
Gleason is so good.
Yeah.
I love him, man. And like after his one scene after the murder was just like so on edge, like just scary.
Yeah. Yeah,
having
it was.
him there.
It was.
Yeah, I liked how they always are like fighting with each other. Like you don't really get to see the other brother that much, and they're just constantly wrestling with each other, and it's just really frantic.
Yeah.
It's funny
Dies,
because
and it's a funeral.
I just went to an estate planner to start work on my own estate planning for my family, and so I finally understand what they were arguing about, which is that instead of making a regular will for their family, he made a trust and named the other brother as the executor of the trust.
Oh.
Meaning
Right. He would have power.
he
over
would
it.
have to get permission from his brother to get whatever, he's in charge of it all.
Interesting. Huh.
In other words, he made one ruler over the other, which
Right.
is straight from the Cain and Abel.
Nice. I think there's a lot of people that get hung up over the allegory.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to get too much out of it.
I
Yeah,
think that's exactly what it
definitely.
is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
And
it is.
I don't think Darren Aronofsky said, I want to tell this story so I can teach people Bible values.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
yeah.
not the purpose of the allegory.
Right.
In fact, calling it allegory is wrong.
Yeah.
It's more like a simile.
Right. Or
Right.
just a theme, just a constant
Yeah.
theme.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've talked about this so often about how story can be pretty much anything that you set your intent to, and yeah, I think it may be just people who are just trying to, like you said, read too much into it. I don't know what that means though, because we talk about all the time, we make fun of people who say turn your brain off.
Yeah.
And I mean, is that what we're asking them to do here?
I don't think so, because it's not necessarily like you have to ignore the allegory completely.
Right.
No.
it's still
Well,
there and it serves its purpose.
If it were a true representation of the Bible as it reads,
Right.
that actually would be turning your brain off.
Right.
Because it's like, hey, I'm going to tell you a story you already know. I'm just going to replace it with other things to make it sort of more interesting.
Well, and so it's broken up a
Which
lot. in
people
this
do
movie
that all
also.
the time,
Yeah.
and it's not that interesting.
Right.
You know?
Also, another thought is that this being a visceral movie, and by definition, the visceral is not an intellect-heavy
Right.
experience.
It's a gut thing.
It's a gut
Yeah.
feeling, emotional.
Yeah, there's still
thing.
symbology in this that I
Yeah.
don't understand. That
Yeah.
I haven't been able to crack, but yet still conveyed a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole thing with like the yellow powder, I don't get. I don't understand what's happening there.
Honestly, I think that's a writing thing.
I mean, it's a stain.
Yeah.
Initially, she's using it as a stain to color her plaster.
Yeah.
But then she's also
then she
taking
puts
it,
it- yeah.
like a
Well,
antacid or something.
Something that I noticed on the second watching is that when she was mixing the powder as a stain, it is just that. It is just a stain because we see the box
Yeah.
that has all the other ones there.
Yeah.
And then she keeps that one in her medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's just a writing thing. I think they needed something for her to break down and then re-heal herself so that later she could say, I don't need this anymore, when he wrote the New Testament. I think that's why.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what it represents.
I don't know. Yeah,
or anything like
I
that.
couldn't
Don't
quite.
think about it. Turn your brain off.
Turn your brain off. No, but I think you're right. But the story is what it is. Is
Yeah.
that people are trying to put all these things into a sequence, and the thing is, it's more about emotion and it's not about the sequence.
Right.
And the connection of her to the house, are they one entity
Right.
together?
And it's just that's kind of
I don't really, just
Right.
he said it's fast and loose, right? And
Yeah.
he's not going to spell that out for us,
Right.
and because I don't think it matters.
yeah. And really, it feels so wonderful. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, in a way, it is a movie to turn your brain off to, but it's a movie that was designed to be a gut emotional,
It's a
visceral
movie-
experience.
Yeah.
you
It's
know?
a movie to absorb more than it is to decode,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
But like if you turn your brain off if you have to turn your brain off in order for the movie to work at all, then that's the problem.
Right, right. Yeah, this one, so, I mean, every movie is an emotional medium, but this one, when it's more on emotion, maybe that's what it is. Maybe if it's more on emotion that you have to decrypt less. Decrypt. Am I saying that? Decipher? That's what I meant.
What's interesting to me,
Translate.
here's this film where they like spent crazy amount of time planning out every single little thing.
Yeah.
All this preparation and rehearsal for a script that was written in a day,
Yeah.
right? That's nuts.
It's cool.
You think if you just wrote a script in a day, you'd be like, hey, let's go make this movie now.
Right.
Which means that story was very important to him.
Yeah.
That's what comes across to me.
Yeah, I mean,
That this was very personal.
Yeah, personal, I could see.
Definitely
it was just,
exercising some demons.
yeah, I could just definitely see. I mean, this whole thing is so directed. I can't see just putting any director onto this movie and say just make it, right? This is definitely a practice for him, for his direction.
I saw an interview with his cinematographer, who said that after he read the script, he called Aronofsky up to make sure he was okay. He's like, "Are you doing all right, man? This makes me feel like maybe you're not all right."
Watching it, you would think that way.
Yeah.
I think this is probably like this movie and The Wrestler are my two favorite
Gosh, I
Aronofsky
love
movies.
The Wrestler.
It's funny because
Yeah.
it's the only two movies I've seen from Darren Aronofsky.
Really?
Yeah.
You haven't seen Requiem for a Dream?
No, I have seen that one.
I love Requiem for
Yeah,
a Dream.
that it?
Requiem's good. Yeah,
I think that's the only.
yeah,
You've seen Black Swan?
yeah.
That's another one.
Ooh,
So
you're
you've seen
well
four of the
versed.
movies. You're
I'm-
well versed.
yeah.
You're just missing.
I'm very, very
the
knowledgeable.
Fountain and Pi.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Noah,
Oh, Noah.
have you seen it?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
so-
you are well versed.
You've seen almost all of his movies, actually.
Well, there you go.
You're just missing Pi and The Fountain.
The Fountain is also one of his best, though.
The Fountain's incredible.
I keep trying to
Really,
watch it.
Yeah.
really fun.
Keep trying to find a way to watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mother is definitely like top one or two.
yeah.
You know?
It's hard for me to really stack those. I'm not super crazy about Black Swan.
I really liked Black Swan.
Actually, I haven't seen Black Swan.
Pi was rather ingenious and clever.
Yeah, but it's still like
See,
amateurish.
Black Swan
Yeah.
felt like a way downplayed Mother. That's what it
Yes.
felt like.
Yeah, it feels very tame next
Yeah.
to Mother, right?
Yeah. It's funny because it is kind of a horror-ish.
Yeah. But the Wrestler, Fountain, Mother, and Requiem for a Dream are really hard for me to order.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Requiem for a Dream is a bona fide classic. You know, that's a straight up
Yeah.
classic movie,
Yeah.
and pretty much anyone would acknowledge that.
Yeah, and for films that have the indie feel,
Yeah,
that's that film really sort of defines that indie spirit.
yeah,
And
does,
in that category, it's just a masterpiece.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny, people always say that like in like Reddit threads are like what's the best movie you've seen that you would never watch again, and they always say Requiem for a Dream. But I feel like this.
I've watched that movie like 9 times.
Yeah. I love that movie. That's a
I
good
love
movie.
that film. Yeah.
I feel like Mother is like 100 times more intense.
We've got a winner.
Yeah. That's an interesting question.
Yeah, the most
A movie that was good,
Good,
that I
but
don't
you'd
want
never
to see
wanna watch
again.
Honestly, it'd probably be Mother.
I mean, yeah,
You've seen
but
it twice, though.
now we both said that. I think
Yeah.
we all said that after that movie. It was like, wow, it was amazing. I don't know if I'll ever see it again.
Yeah.
And I loved this movie more the second time.
I did too, but it made me feel sick the same way, and I don't like that feeling.
I don't think.
I feel like I could watch this movie
Yeah.
more.
Yeah,
no problem.
I could too. I don't think there's any movie that I could think of that I would
good
not
for you guys.
watch again if I liked it. Like if
Yeah.
I liked it, I will watch it.
You'll
again.
watch it again.
You know, I don't care about how dark it is. You know?
Yeah, I'm trying to think
We'll say
about that too. I'm
You're
not
just not human. Is it?
not sure. I
I admit to that.
Sometimes I like the abuse.
Oh yeah,
You know, like
Well, that's the thing,
discipline
right?
your audience.
You like the abuse for movies. That's like one thing you crave.
Yeah,
Me, I can't deal with it. I mean, I can deal with it. Obviously, it's not very comfortable. Like Hereditary, for example,
Yeah.
is like one of the most perfect movies I've seen, and it's very uncomfortable to sit through, and I don't like that feeling at all. But it's a great movie.
Yeah,
so-
What else would fall in that category of just like movies that assault you?
What's that one by Kubrick?
Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that movie's awesome.
I love
That's great,
Clockwork
yeah.
Orange. I actually feel kind of the same way about Full Metal Jacket too.
I have not seen Full Metal
Yeah,
I've seen that movie like 12 times.
Jacket.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
That scene where they sing the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
It's so great.
It's so
Yeah.
awesome.
I guess that's for another episode though.
Yeah, we should
Oh,
do a
Stanley Kubrick stuff.
do
yeah.
a Kubrick episode.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Too much to talk about. I don't
Yeah.
think we even could do that.
He's like my favorite director.
Aronofsky's always been my for probably the last decade. I've always stuck with Aronofsky, Nolan being my two
Yeah.
Nolan
favorites.
and Denis.
Denis.
Well, yeah, as of
Villeneuve.
late,
He's
as
so
of
good,
late,
yeah.
really only
He,
because
I want
of-
it's the first movie I watched of his. Just I put him right there on the top.
Yeah. Well, I didn't see. What was it called?
Arrival?
No, the
Enemy.
cartel one,
Oh, Sicario.
Sicario.
Oh, that's so good.
When it came out, and you saw it,
I did,
and
yeah.
you told me, you're like, dude, I just saw this movie by this cool director, and that's the first I heard of him.
Yeah.
But after Arrival, followed by Blade Runner, it's like this guy.
Dude, yeah, he's
Yeah.
straight up
This
knows
guy
what he's
is
doing.
straight up fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's doing a Dune remake.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Oh.
That's so
It's
exciting.
really exciting.
I can't think of anyone else that I would want to see trying Dune.
Yeah,
It's
really.
just too like high concept for a movie
Yeah,
in most cases. But I think he could do it.
yeah.
If he could pull off Arrival's too high of a concept.
Yes.
It is too high of a concept for a movie,
Yeah.
but he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Should not have been able to pull off. If I read that in a book
Yeah.
and read all that stuff about the aliens' communication form with these spheres and all that,
Yeah.
I'll just say that has to go.
Yeah.
That's not gonna. That just won't work in a movie.
Right.
Or that.
But I mean, it started as a movie, you know, not
Okay.
even based on a book.
Anyway, Darren. Let's go back to Darren.
Oh yeah,
Instead of Denny.
Love
Denny. Oh, hi, Denny.
yeah. So Kubrick.
Wait, we said
Eyes
Darren.
Wide Shut. Oh, sorry.
Darren.
Darren.
So
Aronofsky.
Mother.
I'll stop. I'll stop. Mother. What else is there to say about Mother?
Feel good movie of the year.
I vividly
Praise.
remember leaving the theater laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
As soon as it ended,
You just
we,
experienced an orgasm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
we were all laughing.
Yeah,
Like,
we just
Yeah, we were-
laughing.
it was actually had more to do with sitting through that movie surrounded by strangers.
yeah, with an audience.
Yeah.
was what made it a absurd experience.
Yeah.
knowing that all these people just saw what we saw,
Yeah.
made it was actually funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It made me feel like I was like, these people shouldn't be seeing this.
Yeah. Shield
Yeah.
your eyes, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that's too like private of a movie. Like you should never watch that with other people.
Yeah, there are films that do that.
Yeah.
Where, and I think it has to do with the intimacy with the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you feel exposed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
That's a really interesting feeling.
It is.
I think that's a really cool achievement to get out of a movie.
Yeah.
It's really
I
interesting.
can't think of another movie besides The Wrestler that sticks with the character that closely the
Yeah.
entire film.
Yeah, The Wrestler, I don't know if they did the same thing, but there's a lot of shooting.
It's a lot of intimate
that's
shooting.
like very close to him.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Gosh, Mickey Rourke just
Yeah.
killed it in that
Oh,
movie.
man.
Yeah, that's a beautiful movie.
That's great. That's a great movie.
That
Cool.
Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren.
We have anything
Yeah.
else?
Been wanting to do this for a while. Make
Yeah.
us another movie.
Yeah, that's what I was about to
Seriously.
say.
What's
Whatever we
next
up
from
to
Aronofsky?
Yeah.
Should we see?
Dune.
Yeah, look it up. He's doing Dune.
He's also doing a Dune? Kind of like those two Jungle Books.
Yeah, they're being pitted against each other.
Could you imagine if Darren Aronofsky made a Doom movie?
Doom, like the video game Doom?
Yeah.
That
Could you
would
imagine
be
that from the Hell guy's perspective. I can't remember his name. The Space Marine.
Yeah. That might be awesome,
That
actually.
that'd be weird.
Okay.
That would be strange.
That'd be pretty cruel.
Could be awesome. Could be good.
He's good at violence, you know.
He actually is.
We need Guillermo del Toro to still do a BioShock.
Yeah, to redeem the franchise.
He's the executive producer of a TV series, a documentary TV series called One Strange Rock.
It doesn't count.
Documentary.
That's
Yeah.
not real.
Then there's a movie he's a producer on. Oh, let's go to director.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't care
no,
about
producing
his
is what I
character.
like.
Yeah, but what's he executive producing?
But what's he producing?
There's nothing.
Christopher Nolan, you know,
Yeah.
in Man of Steel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can his fingerprints all over that film.
All over it.
So he doesn't have anything in the works
nothing
publicly.
Nothing
at
after
least.
Mother.
No one will fund him
No,
now.
yeah, no one wants to fund it. It's funny. This got like a very mediocre score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And it's like, had you been going by that kind of score just to go see movies, it's like I probably would have been like, yeah, see what's next, right?
Yeah.
And it's such an incredible experience.
This movie like transcends like you can give it any score and it would just mean nothing to me.
Right,
You know, it's
right.
Like,
So
doesn't
it got
matter.
It's better than a
69.
Yeah.
So it's still a red tomato, but only 50 on the audience score.
No, it's not a red tomato. It's a red tomato.
Yeah, that means it's bad. If it's not certified fresh, it's not good.
That's what it means.
I only see 90 plus films,
Like shoot,
like Avengers.
there we go. Like Avengers,
Or
like Black Panther. That's up there with Citizen Kane.
would you see Blockers? It's 89, but it's certified fresh.
It's pretty close.
Blockers.
I think I'll sway my. I'll bend for blockers.
Oh man.
Well, for a comedy to have 89, that's like the best comedy of all time.
Yeah, it must be.
Blockers. The best comedy of all time.
I've heard it was actually better than people thought it was going to be.
That's what I've heard too. I can't really crap on Blockers.
Here's
I haven't seen it.
the critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes is actually really well. It's actually right on.
On Mother?
Yeah. It says there's no denying that Mother is the thought-provoking product of a singularly ambitious artistic vision, though it may be too unwieldy for mainstream tastes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's interesting because I wonder, because you know what, my mom is actually one of those people who she can't look at violent imagery
Yeah.
for too long because it just gets to her.
Yeah, my wife too. She
Yeah.
does not like in really intense anything.
Right.
You know,
Right.
she likes laughing.
Right. Yeah, the same thing with my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife is also one of those people who really can't stand violence, but she'll watch like Game of Thrones. I don't know.
Well, Game of Thrones is a comedy.
True that, yeah.
They got one-liners all the time in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, jump
actually.
jokes.
Solo.
Jump jokes.
Solo is 2% better than Mother.
Of course.
2%.
It is a better movie.
only by 2%.
but it's 2%.
It's close,
better.
but yeah, it's better.
We put it in the vacuum and we measured. We took some DNA. We took some samples.
Is there a Rotten Tomato score for Jurassic World 2?
Yeah,
What is it?
it's 50%.
Ooh.
But the fan score is 63%.
Oh,
Fans liked it much better than the critics.
fans liked it a little bit better than bad.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the popcorn's still in the bucket.
Oh, that's good. Has it
When-
fallen over yet?
Yeah, it falls over
Yeah.
when it goes below 60, I think.
So what kind of pizza is Mother?
Oh man.
Wow.
Nope. This is gonna get weird.
We got to do it.
This is gonna get
We
weird.
got to do it.
Okay, I'm gonna try to stick to the metaphor. You guys can do your thing.
I always stick to the metaphor.
No, sometimes I realize this. Sometimes you do an allegory for the film with pizza. That's what you do.
I think you mean
Allegory.
I think you mean metaphor.
An allegory of pizza.
No, you allegory the film that you're reviewing and put it into the pizza.
I'm trying to make the pizza into the experience that I had with the film. Isn't that what?
Nothing.
The
No,
point?
nothing wrong with it. Just point it out. Just point it out.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I'm gonna say Mother was like a Carolina Reaper pizza.
Whoa.
Where you're just like, no, what is this? That can't taste good. And you eat it and you're like, holy crap. It's like the hottest thing you've ever had in your life. You had a really, really bad time. And then you just got to come back to it because it's such a unique experience.
That's a
There
good
you go.
one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a really
That's
good one.
pretty good. How about you? What do you think? This is rough. This is hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
You already took spicy off the table.
Yeah, I know.
Can't do spicy
No,
now.
that's really good. Sorry.
That's my phone problem, sir.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like a pizza that is absolutely delicious, and it's. I don't know. You gave the best one. Like that's the best
That was pretty good.
way. I can't. That's what D said.
What you got, Kenny?
Mother is like a pizza that has everything on it you want. Some things that you think you don't want, but after trying it, you realize you did.
In fact, you needed it.
In fact, you needed it.
And now you can't stop ordering pizzas
Yeah.
without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just good. In fact, let me just go out on a limb. I'm just gonna say this is like a pizza with like pineapple on it.
Whoa.
The end.
Whoa.
You heard it here on the Talkies, folks. See us twice a week for Short Film Roundup.
Thursdays.
Dude, pineapple's good, man.
Get out of here.
Short Film Roundup premiere every Thursday.
Pineapple is delicious. It does not belong on pizza.
And our
Oh.
film reviews on Mondays.
Pizza does not have pineapple.
Shut
on
up, D. Just shut up.
it. You don't make pineapple. Oh no.
Yeah,
You-
and do you murder babies in every good
You-
movie you see? No. But, so you can have pineapple on a freaking pizza.
Okay, pineapple on pizza is like murdering babies. Yeah, no, you're good. You're right.
They're the same thing.
Now, as I was saying, Short Film Roundup every Thursday. Our traditional episode where we cover a Hollywood type movie every Monday. If you're a filmmaker and like to submit your short film for us to cover here on the program,
We do it.
We could do that on our Short Film Roundups. You can submit that film at r/Carmenline Studios
That's-
over at Reddit.
Reddit.
Yep.
And we'd be happy to check out your film and
Yeah.
talk all about it and
Yeah.
point out how wonderful it is.
And subscribe.
Please subscribe. Thanks again, and until next time, this dude is Kenny.
This dude is D. That's my name.
I'm Taylor.
And we will see you at the Talkies.
Oh, get out of here, man.
That's